What's your funniest NSFW joke? Losing my virginity was a lot like my first baseball game. Very mediocre, but at least my dad came. Two Baptist ministers are eating lunch. One of them is railing on and on about the immorality of the country today. Way too many people are having sex outside of the covenant of holy marriage. God forbids it. It's a sin. I can tell you. I didn't have a sex with my wife until our wedding night. How about you? The other minister thinks and says I don't think so. What was her maiden name? There is a terrible car accident just outside of a small village. The driver's body is mangled from the waist up and the village doctor can't figure out who it is. He calls in the 3 old gossip ladies from the village to see if they can figure out who it is. They look and look. Finally the first one unzips the pants. Well, it's not my husband. The second one says you're right. It's not your husband. The third one says he's not even from this village. Heard about the penguin with car trouble? A penguin pulls into a car shop with some car trouble. The mechanic looks at the car and says it'll be about an hour. So the penguin says okay and looks across the street to see an ice cream shop. Well, obviously penguins love ice cream. One thing about penguins though is they don't have thumbs, so when he eats it he gets ice cream all over him. After about an hour he heads back over to the shop. He steps up to the mechanic and asks, "What's wrong with it?" The mechanic looks at him, back at the car, and back at him and says, "Well, it looks like you blew a seal." The penguin looks surprised and exclaims, "No, it's just ice cream, I swear." 4 nuns arrive at the pearly gates of heaven. Street. Peter is there to meet them with a bowl of holy water. Street. Peter goes up to the first nun and says, "Have you ever touched a D?" The first nun responds, "Yes, I have. I have touched a D with the tip of my finger." Street. Peter holds out the bowl and says, "Dip your finger in this holy water and be free to enter the kingdom of heaven." The first nun gladly follows the instruction and proceeds to enter heaven. Street. Peter goes to the second nun and again asks, "Have you ever touched a D?" The second nun replies hesitantly, "Yes, I have touched a D with my whole hand." Street. Peter smiles and says, "Do not despair. Simply dip your whole hand into the holy water and enter the kingdom of heaven." The second nun quickly does as she is told and gladly steps forth into heaven. At this point the fourth nun cuts in front of the third nun and says, "Listen, I better go next because I'm not gurgling that it after she sticks her ass in it." Teacher, 4 crows are on the fence. The farmer shoots one. How many are left? Little Johnny, none. Teacher, listen carefully. 4 crows are on the fence. The farmer shoots one. How many are left? Little Johnny, none. Teacher, can you explain that answer? Little Johnny, 1 is shot. The others fly away. There are none left. Teacher, well, that isn't the correct answer. But I like the way you think. Little Johnny, teacher, can I ask a question? Teacher, sure. Little Johnny, there are 3 women eating ice cream cones. 1 is licking the top. 1 is nibbling around the edge. And the last one has the whole thing crammed down her throat. Which one is married? Teacher turns red and says, "That's not a nice question. But I think the one with the whole thing crammed down her throat." Little Johnny, no. It's the one with the wedding ring on. But I like the way you think. A man stands in front of a food truck and reads the menu. Cheeseburgers, $5. Fries, $3. Hand jobs, $10. He walks up to the window and asks the beautiful blonde working behind the counter, "Are you the one that gives the hand jobs?" "Yes, I am." She replies seductively, "Well, wash your hands. I want a cheeseburger." A man walks into a bar with an alligator. He calls for everyone's attention, orders a beer and proceeds to put his balls in the gator's open mouth. The gator closes its mouth. The man drinks the beer and then takes the bottle and whacks the gator on the head with it real hard. The gator opens its mouth and the man shows off his unharmed balls. He looks around the bar and says, "I'll give anyone here a $100 to try this." There is dead silence in the bar and then a hand goes up in the back and a blonde girl comes forward and says, "I'll give it a shot." Just don't hit me so hard with the bottle. A family is on vacation and they stop at a hotel for the night. The dad goes into the front office to check in and tells the check-in guy, "I'm here with my wife and kids. So I hope the porn is disabled." The check-in guy says, "No. It's just regular porn. You sick duck." The madam tell her girls just give those guys blow-up dolls. They are so wasted they'll never know the difference. After when they are walking home, the first guy says, "I think mine was dead. She never moved or made a sound the whole time." The second says, "I think mine was a witch." First, really, why is that? Second, cause when I bit her ass she farted in my face and then flew out the window. How do you spot a blind man at a nude beach? It's not hard. Two guys walking past a dog that's licking his balls. One guy says wistfully, "I wish I could do that." The other guy says, "Go ahead. He looks friendly." One day a man goes to his wife and says, "Honey, I've never said anything before, but I need to know. I've noticed that of our 7 children, that Jack looks different from the others. Does Jack have a different father than his siblings?" The wife says, "Yes. I admit it. He does." The husband says, "Who is his father?" The wife says, "You are." A man goes into a bar. The only other person at the bar is an old homeless guy. The man asks the bartender for a glass of 20-year cognac. The bartender serves it to him. He takes a sip, then spits it out. "What are you trying to pull? I know my cognac and this is only 10-year cognac." "Very sorry, sir. I don't have 20-year cognac and though you wouldn't know the difference. Can I get you something else?" "Yes. Bring me a 14-year scotch." The bartender serves it to him. He takes a sip, then spits it out. "What are you trying to pull? I know my scotch and this is only a 7-year scotch." "Very sorry, sir. I just don't serve much 14-year scotch. All I have is 7-year. Just then the homeless man comes up and slides over a glass full of amber liquid. "Here. Sir, why don't you try this one?" The man takes a sip, then spits it out. "Holy it. This tastes like piss." The homeless man laughs and says, "Now tell me how old I am." I went to donate sperm the other day, and the nurse asked me, "Sir, could you masturbate in the cup?" To which I replied, "Well, I'm pretty good, but I don't think I'm ready to compete just yet." A man and a little boy walk into the forest at night. The little boy says, "I'm scared." The man replied, "You're scared. I have to walk back alone." A priest and a rabbi are friends. One day they are having lunch and the priest says to the rabbi, "You know, we've been friends for a while. I've always wondered, your religion forbids you eating pork. Have you ever eaten pork?" The rabbi says, "Well, yes, once. When I was a teenager I was at a friend's house and I tried a little bit of ham. So then let me ask you, as a priest, you're forbidden from having sex. Have you ever been with a woman?" The priest says, "Well, my friend, I'll confess to you. When I was a teenager, before I committed to the priesthood, I once had sex with a woman." The rabbi nods his head, leans in, and says, "Better than ham, isn't it?" What do you get when you mix human DNA and goat DNA? Kicked out of the petting zoo. Capital Q. How many perverts does it take to screw in a light bulb? Capital A. 1. But it takes the whole emergency room staff to get it back out. Say what you want about pedophiles. At least they drive slow through school zones. Middle-aged couple are walking down the street. The woman is wearing a somewhat inappropriate miniskirt. It's so short, you can see the bottom of her ass sticking out underneath it. From down the street behind them, a random man yells out, "Boy, I'd like to fill that up with ice cream and eat it." The woman turns to her husband, furious, and says, "Are you gonna let him talk to me like that? Go back there and kick his ass." Her husband replies, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not gonna duck with anybody who can eat that much ice cream." A man spends the first half of his life working a stressful, tiring job. Fed up, he quits his job and buys a farm in the middle of the country. On his first night there, he hears a knock at the door. Perplexed, He looks outside and sees a gigantic burly man with a great beard and a fur jacket. "Hi. Welcome to the neighborhood. My name's Jake and I wanted to invite you to a party I'm having." The man realized he would be pretty lonely and as curiosity took over, he considered it. "Okay, sure," he said. "What time?" "Come for 8 p.m. Although, I gotta warn ya, there'll be some drinking." "I'm fine with that," he replied. "I love a good drink." "Well, there may also be some fighting," Jake stated. Thinking. The man shrugged and said that's okay. "I can handle myself." "Great," Jake replied. "And there will probably be some ducking too." "Wow," the man thought. "Who all's coming?" "Oh, just me and you." There was a boy born last week without eyelids, but the doctors were able to make some for him out of the skin from his circumcision. They think the boy will be alright, but he's going to be a little cockeyed. What do you call a cheap circumcision? A ripoff. Q. Why don't hillbillies like reverse cowgirl? A. You never turn your back on family. 3 vampires arrive at a bar and take their seats. The bartender comes over to ask what they would like. The first replies, "Pint of blood please." The second vampire looks at the first and nods, "And a pint for me too, thanks." The bartender turns to the third and asks him what he would like. The third vampire replies, "Cup of hot water thanks." Confused, the bartender asks why he is not having blood like the other two. The vampire pulls out a tampon and says, "I'm making tea." This will probably get buried in the comments, so IDC. So I was at my friend's birthday party and she wanted us to play truth or dare. So a girl that was with me from my base, I was at the army at the time and we all knew each other from the army, was dared to walk on all fours and bite my lip. So I was thinking, oh cool, it will probably be very sexy. So the girl crawls to me on her hands and knees, and she bit my lower lip so hard, as if it was a piece of steak. Needless to say, I was bleeding from my lower lip afterwards, but that's my story.